What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the meta in the game. This website is PokemonMeta.com. They have a bunch of cool information here, such as tier list, cards, decks you can put together. They have a bunch of articles on tournaments and whatnot, so it's really cool. There's no official data from the Pokemon TCG Pocket devs themselves, so the community has gotten together and put together some data from community ran tournaments, and this is where most of that data is coming from and where their tier list is coming from. So shout out to them. I don't take any credit for putting this data together. I'm just utilizing this data and interpreting it in my own way and providing my commentary on it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the tier list. Now, to nobody's surprise, Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX are at the top, right? These are the two strongest decks in the game right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at some deck examples here. I'm actually going to go to browse all top decks here because these are slightly outdated. These are from last month, October, so I want to look at the more recent decks here. I'm going to go to filter tournaments for Pikachu EX, and let's go ahead and look at this first place one. It's going to show us all the topping decks within tournaments. You can also filter for just first place if you want to. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this first place deck here from November 19th, which is actually today at the time of recording. And we got 2 Pikachu EX, 2 Zapdos, 1 Pincurchin, I think that's how you say it, 2 Blitzel, 2 Zebstrika, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Sabrina, 1 Giovanni, 2 Pokeball, 2 Potions, and 2 X Speed. I mean, this looks pretty solid to me. I think this is a pretty good Pikachu EX deck. There's a couple different ways you can build Pikachu EX, right? You can go with this version, which is, I think is just more full-on Pikachu EX, or there's other versions which may rely more on like Surge and other combos like that, right? But I think this deck looks pretty good to me. I would say the one thing that kind of sticks out to me here is the Pincurchin. I have seen people run a one of this card more lately, and I think for a couple of reasons is it just has a decent ability, right? For 2 energy, you're attacking for 30, and then flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So being able to inflict paralyze is very powerful, but of course you just want to have a bunch of Pokemon in your bench. That way you can take maximum advantage of your Pikachu EX to deal 90 damage, right? So this is a very solid deck list. If you're looking to play this game competitively and get into some tournaments, yeah, you can't go wrong with Pikachu EX. So let's go back and we're going to take a look at Mewtwo EX now. Again, I'm going to look at some of the more recent decks. And let's see here. We got a bunch of toppings with Mewtwo EX. We'll take a look at this first place example here. And yeah, I mean, it's a Mewtwo EX deck, right? Nothing too out of the ordinary here. I mean, this is pretty similar to what I made in one of my latest videos. The only thing that maybe kind of stands out here is the one of Mewtwo. I have been noticing people put in this card more as well. This is the non-EX Mewtwo, and I think really all it is it's just there to tank damage, right? Like, it's a basic Pokemon that is non-EX, so it's only worth 1 point, and it has 120 HP. So I think this is just a stall Pokemon. I don't think you're really ever attacking with it. I mean, maybe if you get really unlucky with your draws and both your Mewtwo EX are at the bottom of your deck, then yeah, go ahead and, you know, you can charge this guy up and attack with him. But I think really the main purpose of him is just act as a tank. And then the rest of the trainer cards pretty standard. Research, Pokeballs, Speed, Potion, 1 red card, not bad, and then a 1 of Sabrina, 1 of Giovanni. I like that split as well. So again, really strong deck. This is from November 19th. Again, that is today at the time of recording this video. And there's no tier 2, so I guess it's kind of just clear that Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX are just high above the rest. But we're going to jump to tier 3 here, and we go to Charizard EX. And I really love this deck. I made a video on this deck somewhat recently as well. we'll go ahead and take a look at a first place deck here from November 18th, which was yesterday. And if you look at this deck was kind of similar to my deck that I made in my video recently, right? Because I had a 2 of Meowth in my deck, because I was like, you know, I'm not 100% sold on the Meowth, but it's the best thing that I found for this deck. And the 1 of Meowth, I think that makes sense. I did also see some people in the comments say to try out the fossils to play around Sabrina. I did try that, and it did feel pretty good, actually. I did like playing the fossil version as well. So I think there's a little bit of leeway here where you can kind of build with Charizard, but I think for the most part, yeah, 2 of Charmander, 2 Charmeleon, 2 Charizard EX, and 2 Moltres EX. I think those are absolutely required for the deck, right? And then the rest of the items, trainer cards look pretty good to me. I like the 1 of Pokedex. Sometimes you want to see if you're going to draw into your Charmeleon or your Charizard EX, right? And kind of adjust your game plan from there. So not too surprising there. Charizard is a very, very strong. It literally has the strongest attack in the game once you can get it online, right? So very strong deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one here. We got Marowak EX. This one kind of surprised me, actually. I didn't think Marowak EX was that strong. But I haven't played with it myself, so I guess that's why. I don't have that much experience with this deck myself. But this is a first place deck from 2 days ago, November 17th. We got 2 Cubone, 2 Marowak EX, 1 Hitmonlee, 2 of the new Promo Mankey, 2 Primeape, and then we got the rest are trainer cards. So this deck looks pretty good to me. Yeah, I like this new Promo Mankey into the Primeape. This Promo Mankey will deal 10 damage to itself, attack for 30, then you evolve it into the Primeape, and then you're dealing 100 damage, right? The only kind of downside of Primeape is that it has 90 health. Technically 80 when you damage yourself for 10 with the Mankey first, right? So 80 damage, a lot of Pokemon can clear that threshold pretty easily. And then Marowak, I mean, this is a good Pokemon, right? It's just one of those things that's dependent on the coin flips, because for 2 energy, you're flipping 2 coins. This attack does 80 damage for each head. So you can do 0 damage, 80 damage, or 160 damage. And 160 damage is going to clear most of the Pokemon in this game. So it is a bit of a coin flip dependent deck, but the Mankey into Primeape does provide some consistency. Plus, you got the research and the Pokeballs to draw into your Pokemon, right? And then the 1 of Hitmonlee is a pretty spicy inclusion here. I like this. I like this as a 1 of. I think 2 of would be a bit too excessive. I think 1 of is a perfect amount for this card, because he can deal 30 damage to one of your bench Pokemon. So this can be really good for when your opponent has something low health in the active slot. They switch it out, right? They don't want you to get that point or those 2 points if it's an EX Pokemon. You put in your Hitmonlee, and then for 1 energy, he swings for 30 to your bench Pokemon. So that's pretty cool. Really aggressive card. I really like this deck. I don't have Marowak EX, unfortunately, yet. But when I do, I'm trying this deck out. And then we'll move on to Starmie EX, which this card is really good, but I think it is one of those decks that also kind of has some consistency issues. And I don't see a first place topping here on the first page, so we'll just look at the second place topping here. And we got 2 Starmie EX, 2 Staryus, 2 Articuno EX, 1 basic Articuno. And then we got a bunch of trainer cards here, actually. 2 Research, 2 Sabrina, 2 Misty, 1 Giovanni, 2 Pokeball, 2 X Speeds, 1 Potion, 1 red card. One thing I would maybe disagree with the trainer cards is I would like a second Potion. I think Potion is just a really good card. I'd probably take that over the red card personally, but that's just me. The rest of this deck looks pretty good. Again, we're seeing this 1 of inclusion of the non-EX version Pokemon in the deck, right? We saw that with the Mewtwo EX deck, included a 1 of non-EX Mewtwo. Same thing here with Articuno. I think, again, the same thing is that this is essentially just acting as a tank for the deck. It has 100 HP, and it has a retreat cost of 1 as well, which is very important to note, right? A retreat cost of 1, because if you have your Articuno EX in the active slot, then the retreat cost is 2. And 1 to 2 might not sound like a big difference, but it very much is, right? Especially if you don't draw into your X speed. So I think that's part of it. You could also get lucky, of course, with Misty, right? The Misty coin flips. You could place this turn 1 and then play Misty, and then you're just doing 60 damage with Ice Beam, and you have a chance to paralyze as well, right? So I think this is a pretty good card. I really like the one of inclusion of this Articuno in this deck. And Starmie EX, of course. I mean, this is listed as a Starmie EX deck, but Articuno is just as powerful, if not even more powerful. But Starmie EX as well, right? For 2 energy, 130 HP, you're doing 90 damage. I mean, that is a very aggressive curve there, right? On your second turn that you get energy, you're doing 90 damage per turn. Plus, it has a free retreat cost, which is really good. Not a lot of Pokemon have free retreat in this game, so that is also very valuable as well. Of course, the main downside to this deck is that it is weak to lightning decks, which Pikachu EX is one of the most strongest decks in the meta, as we saw previously. So I think that's the main thing from holding this deck back from being like a tier 2, tier 1 deck. But otherwise, yeah, this looks like a really solid deck. And we'll go ahead and move on to Arcanine EX. Now, this is one that's kind of interesting because people were saying, oh, this deck wasn't that good at first, but now people are kind of flipping the script on it, right? They're saying this deck is actually not that bad. I don't see any first place toppings. We can go to a second place one here on November 13th. Yeah, this is a bit of an interesting one. It's 2 Growlithe, and then again, interesting, right? Again, we're seeing that one of non-EX Pokemon. So maybe this is the new meta. Just have a one non-EX version of your Pokemon, right? So we got the one non-EX Arcanine, 2 Arcanine EX, 2 Moltres EX. I will say though, the basic Moltres sucks though, because it's like I don't remember exactly what it does, but I think it's 3 energy, and you flip a coin, right? If heads, deal damage. If tails, attack does nothing. For 3 damage, or for 3 energy, that's way too expensive, in my opinion. So the basic Moltres sucks, but this basic Arcanine is 130 HP for 3 energy. Heat Tackle, 100 damage, but he also does 20 damage to himself. And then the EX version is the same, except he has 20 more health and does 20 more damage. So this is a very fast deck, very aggressive deck. I really like it a lot. I have not played it a lot myself, to be honest with you, but I think this is a good deck if you like fire type decks, or if you just want to play like fast aggro type, right? Like you just want to do damage to your opponent, like then this is a deck for you, because 120 damage is going to be one-shotting a lot of things in this game. And then, of course, you got your potions. I think 2 of potions is going to be very important because you're dealing 20 damage to yourself with Arcanine to move. You got the double speeds, Pokeballs, 1 red card, 2 research, 2 Sabrina, 2 Giovanni. This deck looks pretty solid to me. I don't really have anything else to say on that. And let's see. Last one in tier 3 is a Blaine deck. And Blaine's pretty cool because it's very budget friendly, right? I haven't done a video on this deck yet. I was planning on it. I haven't done it yet, but we'll take a look at a second place list here from a couple days ago. Now, this one is very budget friendly because there are no EX Pokemon in this deck. If you don't know what Blaine does, during this turn, attacks used by your Ninetales, Rapidash, or Magmar do plus 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So there is no Magmar in this deck, which, I'm fine with. Magmar's not even that good because he's a basic Pokemon. For 2 energy, he does 50 damage, and he costs 2 to retreat as well. So Magmar is really not that good in this deck. You're really just focusing on the Ninetales and Rapidash in this deck. And again, this is another fast sort of aggro type of deck. All we got here is just Vulpix into the Ninetales, and then Ponyta into the Rapidash, right? So that's basically all the Pokemon we need here. Ninetales is doing 90 damage for 2 energy, but it discards a energy from itself. It also has 90 HP, which is a bit low, so these are kind of squishy Pokemon, but they deal some decent damage for very, very low energy, right? Ninetales is doing damage for 2 energy. Rapidash is doing 1 damage. Or not not 1 damage, 40 damage for 1 energy. Plus, they both have retreat costs of 1. So this is a very, I would describe it as a very aggro budget style deck. So it works really well if you're struggling with packs and the pack points and all that. You don't have any EX Pokemon to work with, or you don't have a lot of EX Pokemon. I would recommend try this deck out. Looks pretty good to me. And then I believe that's everything from tier 3. Now we're going to move on to tier 4. And we're going to Articuno EX. And I assume this is mainly just going to be like Articuno with 18 trainer cards. Let's see if we can find any. I don't think there's any first place. Nope, no first place matches. So let's go ahead. Let's look at this top 8 deck. And yeah, looks like 18 trainer cards. This is, I think, pretty standard. What people have been doing for the most part is just relying on Articuno because his Blizzard attack is very strong, dealing damage for 80, but then also dealing 10 damage to your Pokemon, your opponent's Pokemon on the bench, right? So they can run, but they can't hide, essentially. So all you're doing is just you're playing your Articuno, you're hoping you high roll with the Misty. You got Research Pokeball to draw cards. You got Sabrina to manipulate their bench. Giovanni to do some extra damage. X Speed if you need to retreat. Red card. And then Potions and Hand Scope. I do like that they have the Hand Scope in conjunction with the red card. I'm a big fan of this combo. And I don't see people playing Hand Scope enough. I mean, yeah, some decks you don't have a lot of room, right? I would say most decks you don't have a lot of room, but in this type of deck, 18 trainer card deck, yeah, go ahead and put in Hand Scope with the red card. Why not? So that's it. It's a bit of a cheesy deck. Like if you high roll with Misty, you just win. But yeah, it is what it is. Next up, we got Koga here. Let's see, we got 26 placements. With Koga. Actually, a couple first place ones as well. Interesting. So this is from November 14th, a few days ago. And let me go over Koga if you don't know what he does real quick. He's a supporter card. Put your Muck or Weezing in the active spot into your hand. So really the game plan with this deck is to just poison your Pokemon and then use Koga to put the Weezing or Muck back in your deck so they don't get KO'd, right? And you're poisoning your opponent's Pokemon while also denying them points, right? So this looks pretty standard to me. 2 Grimers, 2 Mucks, 2 Coughing, 2 Weezing, 2 Ekans, 2 Arbok. I really like Arbok. It has an ability where it attacks for 60 damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So if your opponent is trying to retreat that EX Pokemon out of there with low health, you play Arbok and you corner them and they can't retreat. So I really like this card. This deck looks pretty cool to me. I like the Pokeballs, Research, Koga, Sabrina being able to manipulate your opponent's bench and then trap them with the Arbok. Yeah, this looks like a good deck to me. Not an amazing deck or top meta deck by any means, but it did get first place in a tournament out of 311 players. So, you know, it's not bad at all. All right, and as we make our way towards the bottom of tier 4 here, we got Blastoise EX coming up next. And, you know, I have been trying so hard to make Blastoise EX a thing. I was going to do a video on it, but I just can't find a deck that I'm completely confident with. So maybe I can get some inspiration here from some of these decks. There's no first place toppings with Blastoise. The best I could see is a top 4. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the top 4 deck from November 16th. Just from an online small 32 player tournament. And Let's see. So we got 2 Blastoise EX, 2 Squirtle, 2 Wartortle, 1 Lapras EX, 1 Staryu EX, and 1 Starmie EX. So this deck's a little bit all over the place, to be honest. And then the trainer cards look pretty good to me. I think 2 of Misty you got to run with the Blastoise. I like 1 of Sabrina. All the trainer cards I'm good with. Just the 1 Lapras EX and then 1 Staryu and 1 Starmie EX kind of sticks out to me. I wonder, I mean, like these are good cards, and Lapras EX is okay. It's only really good at like if you high roll with a Misty, right? I'm wondering if maybe you want to put in a basic Starmie. That way you just kind of stall for time with Blastoise, because that's my game plan with Blastoise. I don't know, maybe this person was thinking something different. Let's go ahead and look at another deck list, because I'm kind of curious to see what other people are playing. Let's look at this most recent one. Top 16 from 143 players. Now this is something completely different. We got 2 Squirtles, 2 Wartortles, 1 Blastoise EX, and then 1 non-EX Blastoise. But then we got 1 Kangaskhan, 1 Aerodactyl, 1 Tauros, and 2 Old Ambers. Huh. So this is interesting. This is just like, I mean, I guess, yeah, you can stall with these basic Pokemon, right? I guess that's the game plan here, because if you run into a Lightning deck, you're kind of screwed playing Blastoise. That's why I assume they want to put these basic Pokemon in the active slot, develop the Squirtle in the back. But I'm kind of curious. I'm going down the Blastoise hole here. Let's see what we got here. And this is another one. Everything is different. Interesting. So we got, this one has 2 Blastoise EX, right? The Squirtle, Wartortle. But then it has a 1 of Meowth, 1 of Chansey, 1 of Snorlax, 1 of Articuno. Again, I think that the game plan is similar among these decks. It's basically you just want to stall with a big, beefy Pokemon in the front line, right? Like with Snorlax, Articuno, or Chansey. Or I guess, you can draw cards with Meowth too, right? But then you want to develop your Squirtle in the bench and then hope you high roll with the Misty. I think that's the game plan for almost all Blastoise decks. But yeah, it's interesting. Everyone seems to have a different take on it. This one is running Drowsy and Hypno. So I don't even think he's running Psychic Energy. I think I can't tell if he's running Psychic Energy, right? I don't think it says. But it looks like he was just running that just because you can put him to sleep, right? With the Hypno ability. You don't even need Psychic Energy to use this ability. You can just use the ability itself. So it seems there's not a general consensus on which is the best Blastoise EX deck. So that's interesting. I'm going to have to do some more testing with Blastoise and see what I can come find. But all right, that's enough Blastoise. Let's move on to Machamp EX. And Machamp, he's down here in tier 4. I think he should be a little bit higher, honestly. I don't think Machamp is that bad. I think he's tier 3, tier 2. I think he's better than that. Yes, he loses to Mewtwo, but I mean, a lot of things lose to Mewtwo, right? So let's see. We got a few different decks here. There's no first place toppings, but we got 15 tops. Let's look at this top 4. And yep, this is pretty standard about what I would expect. 2 Machop, 2 Machoke, 2 Machamp EX, and then the Minkies and the Primeapes. Trainer cards look good to me. I think the Minkies and Primeapes, you can kind of swap them out for something else if you like. If you don't have these cards, I've seen people play Sandshrew into Sandslash. I've also done Wooloo into Dubwool, or whatever the evolved form is called, just as a stalling type of Pokemon. This one's running Cubone, Marowak. So yeah, I think this looks about right to me. I mean, just the 2 Machop, 2 Machoke, 2 Machamp, and then you can go from there. Cubone into Marowak EX or the Minky and the Primeape, right? I don't think it makes that big of a difference because your main thing you're going for is the Machamp EX. So that looks pretty good to me, but I think this deck is better. I would say it's even better than Blastoise, maybe better than Koga. I don't know. I think it should be a little bit higher. And then next up, we got Alakazam. Now, I have not played Alakazam myself, I will say, but I have seen some people who say they swear by Alakazam. And does he even have any toppings? Oh, he does. He has 10. 10 toppings, with the best one being second place, it looks like. So let's take a look here. 2 Abras, 2 Kadabra, 2 Alakazam. Yep. And then Alakazam, if you don't know what he does, he's a stage 2 Psychic Evolution Pokemon, 130 HP for 3 energy. He does 60 damage, but this attack does 30 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is going to be really good against those decks that like to get greedy with Misty or with Moltres EX, right? They're just sitting on a ton of energy, or maybe even like Venusaur decks, right? If they play the Lilligant to ramp their Venusaur. So this is going to punish those high energy decks. I think it's pretty interesting. And then they have a coughing, wheezing combo with a Koga mixed in. I think there's a couple different ways that you could play this deck, right? Let me see. There's a different version here that looks same version. This one's playing a Clefairy into Clefable, which is essentially just a stage 1, 100 HP Pokemon that deals 40 damage for 1 psychic energy. But I will say what I notice here is a couple different things. Well, first off, it has 1 retreat cost, which is good, right? But the second thing, which I think is maybe even more interesting, is that it's weak to metal, which is probably the the type you see the least in this game, I think. I think you see metal decks like the least amount in this game. So Clefairy into Clefable, that that seems not too bad. I'm gonna have to try that out once I unlock all these cards. So looks pretty good. I don't have much experience with it myself, but I know some people who swear by it. And then last but not least, Venusaur EX. Now, this one, I think Venusaur EX should be higher too. I definitely don't think it's a top tier deck, but I think it should be like maybe like top of tier 4, bottom tier 3. I think this should be a little bit better. So let's take a look at some Venusaur EX decks here. We got 13 toppings. We do have 1 first place topping, so let's take a look. And we got 2 Venusaur EX, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur. Yep. Execute into Executor. This is just a really good sort of like starter EX Pokemon, right? For 1 energy, it has 160 HP, and then you're doing 40 to 80 damage depending on the coin flip. And then 2 copies of Erica. I think this is a must in, I would say, like almost every grass type deck. I mean, this card is insanely good. Just being able to stall and heal with your Venusaur. Venusaur heals for 30 with his Giant Bloom. You heal your Executor for 50, and he just sticks on the board, right? So this looks like a solid deck to me. I think this is the main plan with grass decks, is just to sort of just heal and outvalue your opponent, outlast them. I want to take a look at maybe some other examples here. Same thing. Oh, so everyone's playing Executor. No one's playing the Lilligant, huh? Maybe I've been playing it wrong then. We do have 2 non-EX Executors in here, which is essentially just a weaker version of the EX one, right? Let me see. This one plays a Caterpie, just one of Caterpie to draw grass-type cards, and then a Fossil for the Sabrina counter, most likely. And yeah, it looks like most of the decks are pretty similar, though, just running Venusaur EX and then the Executor EX, but no Lilligant, which is kind of surprising to me. Let me look at the second page real quick. Yup, Executor looks the same. Wow, so I guess Venusaur EX is essentially figured out. Oh, look, there's actually a comment here. Why do people run Execute instead of Lilligant 18 days ago? That's a good question, Toge. That is a good question. I'm going to have to do some testing with this myself. I think Executor EX is a good card, but I really like ramping with Lilligant, right? Doing 50 damage and being able to ramp a grass energy to get your Venusaur EX online faster. I think is so valuable. But yeah, I think Venusaur EX is pretty good. Definitely not top tier, but I think he should be a little bit higher up on the tier list. And that's going to be it for this first ever meta report from me. Looking at this list, I would say it's pretty accurate. Pikachu and Mewtwo definitely at the top. Marowak, Marowak's a little bit surprising. I think maybe he could be a little bit lower, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, he is a little coin flip dependent, right? But when he hits, he hits. Starmie's good. Charizard's good. Blaine and Arcanine, I think these are kind of coming up a little bit more. And then tier 4 is just kind of like the everything else category. Although I do think Machamp and Venusaur should be a little bit higher. But for the most part, I would say I agree with almost everything here. And that's it for this tier list video. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to leave a link down to this website in the description below once again, so you can take a look at this data yourselves if you want. And shout out to the guys over at PokemonMeta.com for putting this together. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I just thought this was a really cool tier list I wanted to check out and share with you guys. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you want more tier list videos, if you want them like weekly or monthly. Let me know and I'll see if I can make that happen. But once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.